Welcome back everybody. In today's video, I want to show you how to integrate external pedals with your Fractal Audio FM3. Let's do it. The FM3 pretty much ticks all the boxes for me as the perfect piece of live gear. It's compact, it's powerful, and most importantly, it sounds amazing. But no piece of gear is a one-size-fits-all piece of gear. And I know there's a bunch of you people out there who have particular pedals that you would want to use with the FM3, or you just want to use the FM3 as the brain of your rig together with the traditional pedal board. So in this video, I want to show you 3 pedals that I really like using when I'm jamming at home with the FM3. We're going to look at a fuzz pedal. We're going to look at the mighty Eventide H9. And we're going to look at one of my favorite new pedals, the Poly-Effects Digit, which is simply incredible. But let's get started with some fuzz. This is by far the most straightforward scenario here. Fuzz pedals are often very picky about input impedance. So connecting something between the fuzz pedal and the output of the guitar's pickups can mess around with that input impedance and kind of throw off all the gorgeous interactions we expect with a fuzz and a guitar's volume control. In this case, I have an Anarchy Audio custom fuzz. I just love the way this thing sounds. It's so rude and disgusting and instantly gratifying. And it's really interactive with the guitar's volume and tone control. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna connect my guitar to the fuzz, then I connect the fuzz to input 1 of the FM3, and I'm gonna use the JTM 45 model, and you're gonna hear me just kind of play some stuff. It's gonna sound pretty disgusting and fuzzy, as you would expect, and then I will use my guitar volume control to just kind of clean it up a little bit and get some different textures out of this. This is a great way to implement fuzz pedals with your FM3. So fuzz is pretty straightforward, but I want to spend a bit of time with the H9 and look at how we can not only connect this into the FM3, but how we can also integrate it with MIDI switching. And this is going to double up as a FM3 MIDI switching tutorial. So you don't have to have an H9. You might be using any MIDI enabled piece of gear, whether it is a pedal or whether it's a rack unit. There's so many great pedals out there at the moment which have incredible MIDI functionality. I'm just using the H9 because it's what I've got and I love the way it sounds. Let's do it. Let's make some audio connections. I'm going to go from output 2 of the FM3 to input 1 of my H9. Then I'm going to go from output 1 of my H9 back to input 2 of the FM3. I want to run in stereo, so I'm actually going to connect both outputs of the H9 to both inputs. That's input number 2 of the FM3. So we're all cabled up. Next, we can connect MIDI. I want the FM3 to control MIDI, so I'm going to go from FM3 MIDI out to H9 MIDI in. Again, MIDI out on the FM3 to MIDI in on the H9. Now that we've got everything hooked up, let's look at a basic preset template in the FM3 that will let us utilize the H9. In this configuration, my guitar is going into input 1. It is then going straight into an amp and a cabinet block. I'm using the Atomica High along with an impulse response that I made of my Marshall cab with greenbacks. That is then being processed and it's going through output 2, in and out of the H9, where it's coming back through input 2 and straight to the output. At the moment, I have the H9 bypassed, and this is what my guitar sounds like. Alrighty, what I want to do now is I want to set up the FM3 and the H9 to switch together. And the way we're going to do that is to use a MIDI block. In this case, what I have done is I'm on scene 1, and I want scene 1 on the FM3 to select a particular preset in the H9. So I just want it to dial up a preset. And the way we do this is with a MIDI program change. So I'll go to command number 1. I'm going to set the type to be PC. It is acting on MIDI channel number 1, which the H9 is set to receive. And then I just have to plug in the particular preset that I want. When I send value number 1 to the H9, there's an offset and it's going to select preset number 2. We can test that. Let's watch that. You can see that it's activated preset number 2. If I put in a different value, say I just put in value number 6 and test that, it is going to switch my H9 over to a different preset. So let's go back to number 1 because that is a tape delay preset that I really like in the H9. Let's hear that. Glorious stuff. I can then add some more effects from the FM3 if I like. For example, I could add a reverb block here, and I could go with, say, one of my favorite reverb types is this London plate at the stock values. Now we've got delay from the H9 and reverb and amp modeling from the FM3. Okay, let's say on scene 2, I want to do something slightly different. I want to move to a different preset on the H9, and I want to turn this reverb on the FM3 off. So what I'll do first is I'm going to save this particular scene. So let's go to scene 2. On the FM3, I can disable the reverb, and it's going to remember that. And with my MIDI block, I can select a different preset. In this case, I've set it to value number 5, which takes me to this undulator preset that I've programmed. Have a listen to this. Gorgeous stuff. Let's do a similar thing on scene 3. I want to select a preset using the black hole reverb algorithm. And in this case, I don't want reverb from the FM3, but I do want a delay going into my H9. So I'm actually going to put the delay up here because this is all the stuff that happens before we hit the H9. Let's do something like a simple dotted 8th note delay with the mono BBD. It sounds like this together with the black hole. Beautiful stuff. I could stack up some more effects. Let's say I wanted a phaser set to like a univibe type thing in front of my amp. I could do that. I love this FAS vibe just by turning the rate up a little bit. This is really, really nice. Now, let's say I want another scene where it's just the FM3. I want the H9 to be turned off. I'm going to do that also using the MIDI block, but I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. You'll probably notice, I'm going to turn these effects off here. Let's leave that reverb on for now, that the H9 was bypassed. So I think of this in a slightly different way to a MIDI program change. What we have to use is a MIDI command change. This essentially says to the H9, instead of changing presets, I want you to execute some of the other functions you're capable of. In this case, bypass. So in my H9, the control for the bypass state is CC number 1. And with command changes, we also have to set a value. If I set it to 127, that's basically going to say execute that command, which in this case means bypass. So that's exactly what it's done. I've set that to CC. It's still on the same MIDI channel. The CC number is number 1. That's programmed within the H9, and the value is 127. So that's pretty cool. If I set the value to 0 and I test it, it will now turn it on. So I can go back and forth between those if I like. Let's test it again. So now the H9's off. All I've got is amp, cab, and reverb from the FM3. And And you can go absolutely wild with the options on here. The FM3 effects and amp modeling is absolutely amazing. The H9 is absolutely amazing and inspiring. And I think they work really, really well together, especially when you set them up with MIDI like this. This approach obviously extends to any MIDI capable effects processor. You could do this with a big effects board. You could do it with a rack if you like. And for me, it's not a case of, the effects in one being better in either unit. It's just a case of different form factors, maybe different sounds that I've already had programmed in the H9 that I just want to be able to dial up and use with stuff that I already like in the FM3. So that's how I set it up in a kind of situation where the H9 is after the amp. Essentially, if I wanted to do it pre, I'll just move to a different preset and I'll have my amp and my cab after input 2. And kind of in a similar fashion, I have set up a bunch of different MIDI program changes in the MIDI block. For example, I'm selecting preset number 4 on scene 1, which gives me a chorus. If I go to scene 2, I'm selecting a different program change value. In this case, I'm selecting that undulator again. So this is really cool because in this case, certain effects are going to behave differently in front of an amp model or after an amp model. So I think it's just easiest to have 2 different presets. After all, that's why we have the option of having over 500 presets in the FM3 so that we can do that. So over 500 presets, 8 scenes in each, and on each scene we have 8 different MIDI commands. So you can do a lot. There's a lot of power underneath the hood with the FM3 for controlling MIDI and implementing external effects. And the H9 itself, like I said, is really powerful and really inspiring, and it makes a great little sidecar extra add-on to the FM3 in my opinion. And to finish everything off, the PolyFX Digit, this is a pretty unique beast. Besides being an awesome metallic pink, it has this massive touchscreen on it, and it is powerful. Incredibly powerful. It can do a lot of the things that something like the H9 does, and it can do a lot of the things that something like the Empress Zoya does. It's almost like a whole bunch of different Eurorack modules crammed in to one little box. There are 2 separate sets of stereo ins and 2 separate sets of stereo outs and programmable foot switches. And if you're used to the Fractal ecosystem of using blocks and modifiers, the Digit has a similar system using modules and a modifier system in there. So if you want a touch screen and if you want beautiful sounding convolution reverbs, which essentially are reverb IRs, we've got cab IRs in the FM3, we've got reverb IRs in here, and there are hundreds that come as stock. It can also load up cabs. There's filters, there's delays, there's really cool granular glitch, bit crushing style things, and there's a whole other set of firmware you can load in here, which is more focused on modulation. Let's just hear a couple of sounds. I would integrate this exactly the same way I integrate the H9. So all the connections and the MIDI stuff is pretty much the same, but I do want to show off some of the reverbs, some of the patches, and the touchscreen. you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you learned something from there when it comes to using external pedals with your Fractal FM3. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments. If you have requests for future videos, let me know in the comments. And if you have pedals that you love using with your FM3, please let me know, because I'm always looking for new gear to check out and have some fun with. Until next time, you guys stay excellent. I'll see you then.